First of all, everybody was dressing well. Everybody was dressing with a jacket. The first thing that you was giving to your son, and was 14 years old, bringing him to the tailor.
You know, even if you look back at football games in London, everyone would be wearing a suit in the crowd, standing up with their rattles, wearing suits.
Elegance is something that you cannot explain sometimes, but it becomes from tradition, from a family, from your father.
And you see all that picture from the 30s of this young gentleman wearing a tie and a shirt, maybe the shirt of his older brother, and the ties, because it was long, was inside the trousers.
The difference between the 1930 and today, that in the 1930, when the clients was coming into the tailor shop of our grandfather, they knew what they want.
They was dressing for the pleasure of dressing, not for the way of being seen or being well dressed because I'm wearing this brand instead of another brand. If you look inside that many jackets from that time, I don't think you find the brand. You find the name of the customer was using it.
People that could dress well had a individual tailor. I mean, if you just get a suit made in a factory and to wear it, you don't really feel comfortable in it, you don't really love it. Where all the best dressed people, Cary Grant, Fred Astaire, they all look fantastic because they had a vision that they shared with the tailor.
Probably the most photographed man in the first half of the 20th century was the Prince of Wales, later the Duke of Windsor. The reason really that he was so popular was because he had an incredible sense of style. There are a lot of pictures of him surrounded by heavy, stiff, black suits and frock coats and swallowtail coats and so forth. And there he is in the middle of them wearing a light gray flannel, double-breasted, softly constructed, easily shaped garment. It's obvious right away that he's the new man. And it was really all due to the Prince of Wales tailor, this Dutchman named Frederick Schulte.
He wanted to make a suit that was very comfortable to wear, and he had ideas from the army uniform.
Schulte was particularly taken by the shape of the guardsmen's greatcoats. He was very much aware that these guardsmen looked muscular, youthful, and vigorous. So for Schulte, the technical exercise became, could this be somehow translated into a civilian garment? In other words, into a man's suit coat or a sport jacket. And what he got eventually was a jacket that actually had sort of a V shape. It started out with very broad but easy shoulders.
With the high armholes, keeping them very high, and the drape, like the uniform, was fuller through the chest and through the back blades.
The extra material in the chest tended to corrugate and fold a bit, so it looked kind of like drapery. So it was called the drape look, or the drape cut, or the London look.
High cut waisted trousers, two pleats, usually in a fuller cut, turn ups at the bottom, a nice 2-inch or 1 5/8 inch turn up. It's a very good look, much more balanced, really.
And this became really the modern look, and it was Schulte's creation.
The 1930s cut we still produce today exactly the same. The wide lapel, the soft shoulder, the drape. I'm just going to quickly undo this a little bit to show you the insides of a jacket, because it's very important that it's all done by hand. All right, can we see this? All hand padded, long and loose stitching that creates a very soft jacket. I mean, if you had very small stitches, half the size of that, closer together, it'd be more like an armour jacket, armour plated jacket. Underneath here we've got the canvas, which is cut on the bias, so it would give. Okay, if it was on the straight, it doesn't give. On the bias, that gives, and what that would do, that would bed itself in. When you wear the jacket, your body heat and the things you put in your pockets will accelerate the process. And when it drops down, the coat will drop down and into you, underneath your armpits, and fit you even better. And this is what the Duke of Windsor would have had. His suits will be exactly the same as this, cut in the same way, and that's what we're after. We're after a high armhole, wide, and a big sleeve. The sleeve is 3 inches bigger than the armhole, and when you move forward, you can see you got a lot of movement in this sleeve, a lot of movement. You must feel comfortable in what you wear, and the Duke did, definitely.
The English drape style became immensely popular all over the world, in South America, in the United States, in Europe. It became very popular in Italy. There's a long tradition of the Grand Tour and Englishmen in Italy. The last port of call, as it were, would have been Naples. The Neapolitans had for a long time been great Anglophiles. It's not by accident that Gennaro Rubinacci called his tailoring firm London House.
Because he was thinking that London was the capital of the men's clothing, but he never been to London.
He had employed as head tailor a man named Vincenzo Attolini.
The relationship between Rubinacci and Attolini was very tight. My grandfather, that was doing all the tailoring suit for Mr. Rubinacci, which was anyway was a high-class man, very elegant, Mr. Gennaro Rubinacci.
It was Attolini's job to help Gennaro Rubinacci to translate the English style into something much lighter and more adaptable to the Neapolitan climate.
He started to change the way of dressing a jacket, not anymore formal like was at the past, but a little bit more sporty, with less canvas, less padding, less structure.
Neapolitan style is very light, with volume very tight, like a second skin.
And my father always says that a jacket has to look big inside and shaped outside.
At that time, my grandfather was thinking that to be elegant is to be very natural.
The clothes was made to be comfortable, not to be fashionable. They was enjoying the elegance in the terms of elegance. So wearing the clothes because they like to wear clothes.
Today it is the designers that they take inspiration from the tailoring suit of our father, of our grandfather. We can still find a lot of gentlemen which in the world, around the world, that they still love this kind of style.
Customers do like the 1930s look, and they come to a tailor to get that look.
So with these famous men, the Scholtis and the Attolinis and the Rubinaccis, and the drape cut of London and the more casual look of the Neapolitan jacket, the sense of dignity and propriety was loosening up, and it was being replaced to a certain extent by comfort. There's good reason to call this era a truly golden age of fashion.